good morning. It is still morning. My name is Tomasz Stepniak, and I work for Ruckus Networks. I'm responsible for sales of our solutions in CEE and CIS. Pretty large territory. And I would like to talk to you about an AI wireless enterprise networks. Originally, I proposed the title All Wireless, but I think AI wireless tells a bit more what you should expect. Before I go, let me ask you a question first. What do you know about CommScope? Does anybody know CommScope? Please raise the hand. Oh, just a few. So I think that slide was really necessary. So CommScope is a huge company. They make, we make a lot of telecommunications equipment, fiber cables, passive infrastructure, mobile towers, mobile antennas, this kind of products. And we, Ruckus, are part of this business unit, which is a kind of isolated or independent business unit within CommScope. And we make enterprise networks in terms of wireless, switching, management software, network analytics software. We have our own R&D. We have our own separate sales departments. We obviously benefit from the fact that we are part of CommScope, so all these back office things are shared. But even the brand is kept separate. So Ruckus Networks is the brand that runs on CommScope, but it's not really a CommScope if you know what I mean. And the Ruckus Network as a brand is a well-established brand from more than a decade ago. So I hope that I don't need to explain a bit more and anything more about Ruckus. So let me go directly to the merits of the presentation. So I will be talking about AI and the networking, and there are some analysts, or actually all analysts, talk about the necessity of implementing network intelligence in a complex network environment, because you connect so many new devices to the network, it's becoming really hard to manage that, to even configure that in the most optimal way. So this is why all vendors, as I saw, including Ruckus, decided to implement this kind of mechanisms, which are based on artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, some say it's pretty overrated, but to me it's the best tool to manage complex environments like networking, because it works in a very specific way. So you do not develop software and you don't tell the software to what it has to do to manage the network or to provide network assurance. You develop the software so that it learns from real life examples how to manage the network. That's the biggest difference. And I think we will talk about it in a bit more detail later on. So this is a common trend. And we have, I believe, one of the best implementations of that artificial intelligence analytics in our portfolio. But of course, there is a reason for that. So in the past, the regular enterprise network was just all wired. Wi-Fi was nice to have here and there, in the conference room, somewhere in the guest area, maybe at the reception desk. All other things were just have been connected with Ethernet cables or optical cables. Obviously, today, everybody thinks about this kind of network architecture. So all devices are supposed to be connected wirelessly. And it's much more devices that are being connected to the network than before. And it's much more, there's more access protocols. So it's not only Wi-Fi, there's also 5G, there's also IoT like Bluetooth, Zigbee, or these new protocols like Thread, I guess. So, that imposes certain requirements on the network, and that it also increases the complexity of the network. So there are certain expectations related to how to migrate from cable to all wireless, keeping the resiliency, the quality of wired connection. I think that's the ultimate goal. And in most cases, this transition is not that easy, and it's very problematic, stops on aspects of developing a company in terms of digital transformation, for example. So, as I said, it's much more devices than we can even think that requires wireless connectivity. Even the smartwatch, it has Wi-Fi for some reason. It connects periodically so I can see what is the weather in the place where I am, even though I can look out the window, but it still connects to the Wi-Fi just to check this. So the whole lot of things, we are no longer focused on the office, no longer on a data center. All systems, building management systems, access control, physical security, you name it, it's all designed to use wireless connectivity. But if you do that in a very simple, unprepared way, then you can end up in a situation like this. I think some of you that participated in this presentation a year ago can recognize the slide. It's actually a snapshot of a real environment of Wi-Fi on Warsaw Airport. And I can tell you, yesterday when I flew here, nothing really changed. So it means that it's really hard to provide right quality of service, to keep all customers happy, and also you can imagine how much problems in the radio interface it creates, to operate that network. So there are so many access points, and they all interfere with each other. Service quality degrades. Nightmare. So the opposite to nightmare is a nirvana. That would be the ideal situation. You have just one network that serves all the services you need in a specific building, company, or an area, right? Of course, you can't just choose whatever is available on the shelf. You have to consider a solution that provides certain elements that allow you to provide secure and reliable connectivity to your customers. I think absolute foundation is connectivity, is the device like access point or a switch. If it does not provide good Wi-Fi quality, the rest doesn't really matter, because you will not be able to make sure that your customers are happy in any way. So the other areas, even more numerous, they represent several of like two more aspects. One is more like authentication and role-based access control is more related to network configuration. I like to call network configuration and management tools the services engine, because they create the services. They provide right parameters, VLANs, everything in a network, etc. And then there is a whole lot of things that you need to do with regards to monitoring. You need to have information, collect information from the network, of course, state, problems, etc. Not only have to monitor, but you have to make it that is visible to the IT department, and that the tools provide you with aid in incident response. So we actually, no surprise that we do something like this. This is like a high-level architecture of our solutions. So on the right hand, on the left hand, you can see how the platform, of course, I mentioned, and I will talk about it in more detail in a minute. It is absolutely important to provide right quality of a transmission. And equally important is this right column, if you will, or pillar. That is the network intelligence, which I talked about in one of the earlier slides. That is important really to provide right quality, and I will repeat that probably endlessly on this presentation. Quality and user experience is key. You know, regardless if it's your customers internal or external, or it's still they will be coming to you and asking to provide with help because their applications don't work. And of course, the foundation is the unified management, network configuration, service configuration, etc. So these three elements, two pillars, and the foundation. This is what we do, and these are the building blocks of that of our solutions. So Wi-Fi access points. They also include IoT radio on board. Most of them, the very simple ones, they would require to add a USB extension. They come in outdoor, indoor, and specialty flavors. We have a switching. Switching basically has to provide bandwidth. Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 is really bandwidth hungry, and right PoE budget for the access points. The more standards, the newer standard they support, they require more power to run them all. And of course, they have to provide some additional enterprise networking features, and we have all of them. I will not be focusing on switching on this presentation. Whole set of management, or as I said, services engine solutions. Smart Zone comes in the form of an appliance or virtualized software. Ruckus One is a cloud suite of applications. I will talk about it in more detail later on. Unleashed for very small networks. I mean, you don't need a controller. You also need a software configure IoT. And Ruckus Wireless Gateway, or One Gateway, is something that is beyond the scope of my presentation, but it's a center of applications for security, for tunneling, for networking, in a distributed environments. And of course, cloud services software, Ruckus AI. This is something I will talk about later on. Cloud path enrollment systems will also appear on my slides today. So as I said, connectivity is really important. On the slide, you can see the latest addition to our portfolio, R770. So it's Wi-Fi 7, top of the line access points. Interesting fact is that some kind of variant of this access point is being used in Wi-Fi Alliance testbed. So any vendor, absolutely any vendor, if they want to get certified with Wi-Fi 7, they are measured against Ruckus access point. So this is the reference access point. It is not the first time it happens. Wi-Fi 6 and before it was all the same. Ruckus is always in the test bed, and all access points are measured against it. It comes with a very sophisticated technologies inside. I mentioned only a few because I don't want to be this presentation to be too technical. BeamFlex, it basically is the technology that allows you to concentrate your precious energy in a specific direction. I will talk about it later in more detail. We are also capable of recovering signal from many polarizations. If I keep my smartphone like this, it uses one polarization. If I turn it like this, it uses another one. I can see nodding, everybody knows that, but it happens that sometimes when you change orientation of your smartphone, Wi-Fi degrades and you lose connectivity, or it has to reconnect, whatever. Of course, it has onboard IoT. these elements here are these antennas for beamflex. Very complex. We can think of beamflex really like a radar. It's not obviously a moving part. It switches between antenna elements, but it's actually dynamic directional characteristics. And the beauty of it all is that it doesn't have to be supported on the entry device. Even the oldest one, they will benefit from all of the technologies that you can find on the slide. This is all embedded in the AP. So basically, this AP knows in which in 3D there is a client device and transmits and listens only to and from that direction. A brief comparison, normal, also say legacy AP, transmitting omnidirectionally, wasting the power basically where it's not needed. The transmit beamforming, sorry. So that's the protocol standard, but it's a kind of a directional antenna, but it's not dynamic, and it's very limited patterns, and it is basically based on interference patterns, which means that it doesn't only transmit the way we want to transmit it, it transmits also in these areas we don't want to transmit it. So the benefit is not really huge, 3 dBs maybe max. And beamflex is, as I said, directional antenna. So you can see that it's being directed in a specific direction, improving communication towards the client device. And of course, because beamflex is our patented technology, and transmit beamforming is a part of a standard, so we support both. As the only ones globally, no one else can merge those two technologies. So if you want, and I hope you do, so just more bit illustration how it works in real life. So we have client devices. These AB are clients, so you just put one regular access point, so much to provide coverage. And then your company grows, so there is another clients from another company somewhere that also require connectivity. So boom, another access point. So the list of SSIDs or access points grows, the ones that I showed in the beginning. And there is more, so you put another one. Of course, your company or your client's company grows, so it grows and grows. As we saw, there's more and more devices that require wireless technology. So, normally people think, okay, so I will just add a new device. But we already have interference on the areas where signals from those access points overlap. So if you add next one, instead of improving the situation, you're actually degrading the signal-to-noise ratio. The signal is high, but the interference is also high. So the quality of the signal is terrible. So instead of that, just use Ruckus. I mean, even if that noisy environments, if you use this, that represents an access point from us. It can direct signal in exactly the way you want it to direct. And it transmits per packet. So I have a transmission, or it has a transmission, for example, to client A, but the next one is to this client. And it switches the patterns. So it does not really provide, in this moment, it does not interfere with this one. So if you have a noisy environment with so many different vendors, nothing better than just use Ruckus access points because they will handle this situation. Obviously, the best one is just to have one Ruckus access point because you can see all these client devices, they are within the range of just one access point. So with the right planning, you can actually reduce the number of required access points with Ruckus devices. So now just a brief movie about how this polarizational awareness and diversity works. So this is the traditional AP, which uses just one single polarization. And if your client device is changing orientation, signal is degrading because it's not in agreement with the polarization of antenna. That is the biggest challenge. in case of Ruckus, it's a different story because we support both polarization at the same time. So we can choose which one is better, or can even combine signal from both polarizations. So no matter what happens to orientation of your client device, it will still work. I heard from, for example, logistics companies in their warehouses, these barcode scanners. Now they work if they really are used like something like this. But they can't be used like this because they lose connectivity. So this is the reason. Okay. So just a metaphor, analogy, I guess doesn't need any explanation, right? Having seen the slides before. Okay, so now let's consider this connectivity part being, explained. Why is it so important? Why do we have some advantages over competition? So now let's talk about this guy who is the IT manager or IT engineer. And if you have in mind this long list of SSIDs, as something goes wrong, diagnosing this kind of network, providing maintenance is a nightmare. So I will not read all of that, what he thinks. So now I will talk about this part. Out of this, I will select Ruckus 1, which is a platform, which is AI-driven and converged management platform for all elements of our portfolio. It looks like this. So we can manage the Wi-Fi and switching, IoT, all included. In Europe, this is not yet available. This is more US thing, but I hope it will be available in some reasonable time also in this area. So this is, you can call it private 5G. It's called CBRS in the US. It provides security and policy. CloudPath I mentioned, this is the engine that is used to securely onboard devices to the network. Edge Solutions is something that will come. So we will have some SD1 capabilities. And this is also going to be managed by Ruckus 1. And data and analytics. This is really this part I want to really focus a bit more in the rest of my presentation. Oh, one important thing. I mentioned these technologies and etc., but I think it's important to mention that because we do what we do best, so we focused on enterprise networking, Wi-Fi, switching. We do not do firewalls. We don't do some nice business reporting tools or whatever. So we provide very extensive options to connect with external systems through APIs, through data exchange, and we can also easily integrate with partner systems, which means that if you are an MSP, managed service provider, then you can also customize this Ruckus 1 so that your customers see you or your portal, not Ruckus, really. So what does Ruckus AI? And let me repeat it again. Why is it AI? Why is it so great? And why is it only available from cloud at the moment? All other elements could be in a hybrid model or deployed locally in some sense. But this is the one that so far it's only available from cloud. Because if you have a machine learning application or core, you have to train this on the data from various sources. So the quality of the outcome depends on how big was the data set that was used to train the machine. So you can imagine that if you install that locally, the only network that it could learn from was just your network. But because this one is installed in the cloud, it takes data from all the networks that it is connected to, and it learns and it optimizes, and this is why it can provide so nice features that you can see on this slide. So it's the American way of saying that it can find out problems that they did not take into effect yet, right? So it recognized some small symptoms like, you heard the butterfly effect, right? I can see some nodding again. So some small change can cause big problems later. So we can discover that early in advance before any problems occur, which means that you will have that early warning before even your customers, either external or internal, see any issues with network connectivity. The next part is that once all of these problems are discovered in the network, sometimes you don't know which one is the root cause, which one is the most important. So we have also, based on the experience from the past, we can take care of this first. So then probably the other 3 or 4 will disappear once you solve this first one. And fix them fast means that because there were attempts to solve this kind of problems in other network most likely before, and we know, the machine actually knows what kind of result they brought, it is very easy to propose a solution to an operator to your IT department, say, you can try this and this. This should fix that issue that is popping up. One might ask, why is this really necessary? You have such a great Wi-Fi, such great switching. The trouble is usually because of 2 reasons. The human factor, like misconfiguration, some misunderstanding of how to create a service, for example. And the other factor is the changing environment. Once you deploy a network, it is supposed to last in operation for years. We have customers who use our equipment, even the early N version of the standard, which is, I don't know how many years, 9 years old now. And they are happy because it works. But, still, there might be problems that occur, and you need to somehow manage that. So no network is trouble-free, not even with the perfect access points and switches from Ruckus, sadly. So that was the operations part. This is more like related to optimize the use of the resources. So I think many engineers would appreciate this. So you can actually, before applying changes to the network, you can play with the Ruckus AI to see what kind of result they would bring. Increase AP performance or lower it, or stop a radio stop working, for example, such as simple things. This part of the Ruckus AI will provide you an estimate of what could happen if you implemented certain changes. This goes one step further. So this one was you trying some things. This is actually Ruckus AI suggesting some changes in your network. Look, if you did that, then probably your network connecting time will drop 20%. Things like this. And radio resource management from cloud. So I will talk about it here in more detail. In the complex networks, this is actually probably a snapshot of a network from, I don't know, from test or from one of the customers. So each dot represents an access point, and the red dots represent access points who can hear interference from neighboring access points. It is not a strategy by itself, because we can manage that with the beamflex in many cases, but it's not the optimal state. So normally, this kind of optimization, like changing channels, changing transmit powers, etc., is done by a controller. By controller reacts in most of the cases on what's going on right now, or maybe within a week or so. So cloud resource management collects that information and uses the computing power of a cloud, which is by several degrees bigger than any controller deployed locally, to calculate what would be the best scenario for distributing the network resources, like channels, as I said, transmit power, etc. So as you can see, this is a result of the optimization. There is no more interferences. All access points work in a most optimal way. Okay, so just a kind of a pre-summary. I have still a few more slides, but a kind of reminder, maybe I should say, if you really want to go with this type of wired connectivity to wireless, but keeping the quality of the wired connectivity, you should have your network, all three elements working as one clockwork in this case, as one machine. So connectivity is absolute foundation, as I said. Bad AP with the best AI tool just will not do. Simple as that. But once you have this, and you have a great configuration engine, I told you what kind of options you have from Ruckus, and it's worth to say that they scale from single access point to tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands access points. We have operators who run that big networks of access points. And on top of that, in order to provide right customer satisfaction, you will need to have AI tools, like Ruckus AI in our case. So that was my vision, but here I can show you the vision or assessment of some analytic companies. This is Abbey Research. Ruckus is one of the top leaders. Innovation, we are not the highest, probably because we do not have all of these new fancy things that you can visualize, etc., which are, I would say, nice to have, not really necessary to run the network, but still, they were considered. So we are the leader, top innovator, and top implementer in that recent research. If you want to check the performance, and there is a Pocket 6 test. Pocket 6 is an independent company that does various trials of various networking technologies. So they did tests of Wi-Fi 6. You can, I don't know if you can read this, but it's easy to find in the internet. So you will see this, which vendors, top vendors were tested. In each of the tests, Ruckus always performed the fastest. So network throughput overall, stability, so this actually represents when you have various kinds of traffic, huge file download and video traffic and voice calls. So we kept the quality of all of them unchanged, regardless of the load. And this is actually the more an assessment of subjective assessment of mean opinion score of voice quality. So it also Ruckus scored the biggest. But again, this is about the connectivity. They also tested tools to repair or to provide some mean time to identification of a problem in the network. And here, they tested some other vendors as well, and Ruckus provided the shortest time to spot the problem in the network. They've created some problems, and they saw which of the systems will, be the fastest with helping this. So I hope you that this is some kind of proof of the words that I just said. But if you don't trust it, I recommend that to get in touch with Clicko or with me or our partners to do the test. I think that the best potential target for Ruckus is the company or institution that has Wi-Fi problems. They tried many things and they still complain, or institution that wants to deploy new services considering some company-wide digital transformation, for example, of factories where they want to provide automation to manufacturing halls, but also to the warehouse facilities, etc. So everywhere, when you have a lot of users, a lot of client devices connected to the Wi-Fi network, and the company that understands that the quality of such solution must be superb, otherwise they may fail in implementing other applications, other projects in their company. So this is also a kind of fundamental thing to do. So tests, and my experience is that majority of the proof of concepts I entered, the department who tested it, they want to keep it. There are some political issues, let me call it this way, that if somebody bought Cisco for last 15 years, they have relationships and etc. So it's very hard to enter. But at least when they test it, they say that the quality of Wi-Fi is always the best of any vendors that they have tested. So to just proliferate Ruckus among the people here, we run some small demo with an access point that can be won. So you can find an SSID being transmitted, Ruckus start, and if you follow this procedure and you leave your telephone number, that we can identify you. So at the end of this event, we will do a draw, and one R350 access point with Ruckus 1 license will be the prize. So I hope that you find it worth it to try it. Keep that in mind. Start with Ruckus start. The rest is pretty it's easy to understand when you go through the system. It's based on the cloud part and Ruckus 1. We do not really provide any service here. We want to show you how easy it is to onboard to a completely external alien network. By the way, the access point is there, somewhere in the corner, because that was the only place where we found Ethernet socket with Ethernet connectivity. But you can easily find out that the coverage is way beyond this room. So I encourage you to do that, unless you don't want to get any access point, then don't do that. And that's it from my side. Oh, one thing, just be sure that you go through as a guest. No other variant, just a guest. Do you have any questions? I hope that I manage. Actually, I don't know what time it is. Yeah, a few minutes after. So lunch is right after me. So no questions. Everything is clear and Anyway, thank you very much. I'm on my booth with my engineer Sebastian. So if you have a question, just approach us and I would be happy to explain anything. So thank you very much.